Welcome to another edition of POS, the podcast we find the piece of shit stories, events, and ourselves. Bobby can't make it. We're having technical difficulties. He was actually trying to do it from compound. There was issues there. We will miss Bobby sorely, but we have two amazing guests with us, Mike O'Donnell and Dan Brown. And we've been actually talking and trying to get through an episode for an hour. So if I pretended to go, "How are you guys?" That would be dumb. I know how they are. We've been talking. We all miss Bobby. Sorry, Bobby. I hope you don't get upset about it. Everybody will be okay. We miss you. It's terrible. But the week we were trying to watch a video. Dan Brown trapped a woodchuck at his home. Now, Dan, what is your YouTube channel's name?
My YouTube channel is Ghosty Films.
Go to
And
Ghosty Films. Watch. You'll see Dan's face. It'll say woodchuck or some shit. Watch that on your own. But Dan, I'd like you to do something we don't use as a guest to do. You're going to tell the POS story, but the POS story is you capturing the woodchuck, kind of like it is on the video. Would you mind telling the story? Then Mike and I will find the piece of shit in it.
okay. All right. So basically I was weed whacking on my property and yeah. And I saw this big fat woodchuck just kind of like rushing toward me through like some brush and I was like I just froze because I don't know if woodchucks are violent.
Now,
They like
real quick, did you know it was a woodchuck? Because I wouldn't know what's a woodchuck, what's a groundhog, what's a mole.
Well, woodchucks and groundhogs are the same thing. They're like a big fat squirrel. Like the squirrel, they got a little squirrel tail. It's the same size as a squirrel, but their body is like a morbidly obese Jabba the Hutt squirrel.
It's like a chinchilla.
I don't know any of these. Chinchilla is that Mexican dessert.
Think of a smaller animal and just make it bigger.
Isn't that a Mexican?
It's a woodchuck.
Yeah, I don't know what I know a woodchuck could chuck wood.
It's like a beaver with a squirrel tail.
I don't know what I don't know.
You know what a beaver is?
Things. I know they exist, but if you put them in a lineup, I wouldn't know what the fuck they were.
You'd figure it out.
I feel like if we lined a bunch of woodland animals up in a police lineup, I feel like you'd be able to use the process of elimination to figure out which one.
Oh, now you want me to know what the process of elimination is? Thanks, Dan.
Anyway, so this woodchuck just started rushing toward me, and then it hid down behind a log, and I just didn't move. And then it sprinted over and jumped through this hole in my garage and went inside. And so later on, I was going into my garage.
You watch the video, you'll see. You won't listening. You're going, oh, Dan has a hole in his garage. Dan's garage is Swiss cheese. It could have been any hole. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, there's like holes in the roof because the rain just drips in. And there used to be like the people who used to own my house, they installed like a sink in there, but there's no water or electricity going in there. There's just holes.
And 1 second, let's play the fun game. What did they use the sink for? Mike, you go first. Why would you have a sink in your garage?
Sink in the garage, just clean up after a murder.
Yes, that's what I thought. Was there running pipes to it or just a sink?
It's the bucket underneath the sink.
Was it just a bathtub for the baby that they weren't supposed to have?
Well, the sink kind of like rotted off of the wall, like the wood around it rotted and it just fell. So I've never really looked underneath to see if there were pipes, but I would assume so.
Don't assume.
But anyway, I went into the garage and then I looked around the corner and there was this big, like this woodchuck I had been digging up my garage floor for a while now. There was like a big mound of earth around it and like rocks and I went over there and I looked there and there was like evidence of this woodchuck's activities. Like there was all these bottles of Stop and Shop water that had been consumed, and there was like some kind of magazine flyer. Like
wait. You found? Are you sure there's not a homeless person in your garage?
Well, I didn't. I caught a woodchuck.
And there was a Playboy.
I mean, it could have. Like they could have. I don't know. There could have been a homeless guy in there too. He just wouldn't have fallen.
He took his pet.
Yeah, possibly.
What do you think the beaver was doing with with bottles of water?
I don't know, but they were in there, and they were right where
there was also a sink in there. Do you think the woodchuck brought the sink?
No, let's not be crazy. Like,
you don't think that maybe? So wait, do you go in this garage often?
Not really.
So maybe that bottle of water have always been there.
Maybe. It's possible.
Nah, dude.
Did you check the date or the type of flyer? Was it like a Caldors or Bradley's flyer
Brand new.
1980 or something like that in a paper?
I didn't at the time, but maybe tomorrow I'll go look. I mean, it could be. I mean, it looked like a circular for a store. There could be some coupons in there that might be useful to me. But anyway, I was looking down into this pit, and I couldn't see the bottom of it. Like he just dug down there, and
How deep's the pit?
what?
How deep is the pit?
Oh, like as I could, I don't.
Dan's sitting at the bottom of it right now.
I couldn't see the bottom, but you could probably reach your arm in there. Like I was researching woodchucks, and apparently woodchucks will have a main opening somewhere, and then they'll dig down and have an escape route. And I think the main opening was in my neighbor's yard, and the escape route happened to come out in my garage.
This
So
is like the Harriet Tubman of fucking.
They're like
woodchucks.
the Vietnamese.
slave woodchucks probably escaped through that tunnel.
Who's better at tunneling?
Go in that pit. There's 3 of them playing cards.
Yeah.
Down there, we're like,
Let's play the game. Who's better at tunneling? Woodchuck,
woodchucks.
the Vietnamese, or Harriet Tubman?
That's tough.
Well, the Vietnamese booby trapped their tunnels.
Right.
Yeah, but Harriet Tubman had a whole railroad.
Yes.
So
And I heard her boobs were a trap.
there's a
the
whole
railroad-
underground train system.
But the railroad, like, there was a lot of that was kind of just a metaphor. Like there was a lot of just running through forests, and
Well, yeah, I don't think there's a real. It wasn't a fucking subway car.
so that kind of eliminates Harriet Tubman if we're doing this who was a better tunneler thing. I'm still going for the
Followed so well. They said it's like it being a railroad. That's how good she was. She didn't really. There wasn't stops.
I don't even know if it was underground.
Next up,
Yeah, they let him off here. Next stop, still racist.
Freedom, kind of.
There's one black guy underground. Like, where the fuck is this train?
Can we stop somewhere in the corner of Juneteenth?
Yeah. Hey, this guy dressed like Michael Jackson's bugging me. Don't worry, he's fine.
It's not. He's dead. Anyway, go ahead.
No, this one.
Oh, he's not fine. He looked inside boys' buttholes. I taught Dan that yesterday when I watched that documentary on Neverland, whatever. On
Oh yeah.
you would just look into it like a kaleidoscope.
Yeah. Magic butthole on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? You
Why,
are,
it's
Michael,
you.
with your
Michael.
ghostly white skin.
Me.
What if he was just wanting to be a proctologist? He's just like, he's clean.
If you Big J has a joke about spreading your ass for Michael Jackson in his new special.
Yeah,
But if you turn around and he was like hitting the
yeah.
like, yeah, go ahead, man.
He's doing all the roses. That's the best. Well, anyway, you're in the pit. Sarlacc pit.
All right, so I asked on Facebook to see if any of my friends had any traps, and it just so happens that Ray Kosker had a trap.
Comedian Ray Kosker from the Hartford, Connecticut area.
Yeah, he's a comedian, and his trap was he caught like the same possum twice with this trap, and so I guess, and somebody else said it was the most humane kind of trap. So
By the way, pause again. Sorry, but so people know.
It's a grenade.
yeah.
If you saw this interaction, Dan, what are you? 6'2", 6'3"?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm only 6 feet.
Okay, 6 foot 6. I'm 5'11", so you're a little taller than me. Ray Kosker's like 6'4", 6'5". You're both tall, white, blonde men trading traps in a city that is known for not having tall white men there. They must have really thought you guys were stealing a baby.
Well, we actually did meet in a parking lot in West Hartford after the Elbow Room, Mike. So it was probably pretty common. Like if somebody's gonna have a trap in West Hartford, they're probably gonna be white.
You got the stuff.
Yeah.
Trench coat, bag of marbles. I got all kinds of traps.
So you got the trap, you brought it home.
And then I was watching more YouTube videos, and like they were saying that you got to make a trail leading into the trap, and it was kind of hard to film it because I the trap, you had to like lift this latch, then push this thing down, and then lift it up, and then you had to turn this crank and then set the trap. But I was holding my phone, so it looked like you were saying I looked really dumb because I kept
I
having.
didn't say you looked dumb. I said it made it funnier that you could not open the trap, but most people would have edited that part out because you did edit some things out, but you kept in you not opening the trap 6 times.
That trap sounds like you could have just used a stick and a box. Just prop it up.
It gets close. He has a stick at one point. That's foreshadowing.
So I ended up getting peanut butter because that's what you usually use for mice, and
used a healthy amount of peanut butter too.
Yeah, and so I got like a big scoop of peanut butter, and then I put another little small sample size on, and I put the trap right outside the hole, and I put the sample size peanut butter on the dirt pile, and then I lay in wait, and actually,
yeah, just my daughter did comment on that part and said, "Look at Dan with his freedom peanut butter and his trap peanut butter." Yeah, one out there like, "Oh, this is heaven." Nah.
But I was like, I went inside for a bit and I was watching more woodchuck videos to like get inside the mind of the enemy. And
think, Dan.
Yeah.
It's chewing on wood outside.
He's just laying around with Stop and Shop water bottles going.
He just like looks over. It's exactly the moment.
But I learned that
I hope this is like Fight Club and there was no woodchuck. It was
just you stuck in a trap with peanut butter.
But I learned while I was doing my research that green beans are like candy to woodchucks, and they find.
By the way, is a quote in the video by Dan.
Yeah. So I drove to the.
Are candy to a woodchuck.
This thing's like crack.
Yeah. Dan had so many green beans just laid out around. But when he went away and then came back the next day, it was just peanut butter at first. Then the next day, the video comes in. You say it a second later, but for 1 minute, you're like, what the fuck is all that green shit? It's just green beans laid out all over the place.
Oh, I'm excited to watch this.
Yes.
But it wasn't even the next day because I sprinkled the green beans and I went inside to cook dinner. And then I heard like a click like in the garage. And I was like, oh, that must have been the trap. And then I went in there and sure enough, he couldn't even like stay away from those green beans for like an hour because like it was probably an hour after I put him in that I went in there and there he was. And I went over to the cage and he was a pretty chill dude. He was like just hanging out, like pretty calm. And then so now
I have a pet woodchuck.
Yeah, he's in prison. Like most people, he's not gonna have a can going across. What's he gonna do?
Oh, he might add water bottles. He might have a fucking can.
Couldn't get him.
But like I was considering keeping him as a pet because he seemed so friendly.
Well, make the big reveal what you noticed when you saw him in there.
He had a collar. It was a dog.
You know,
he knocked over his water and stuff.
No. You noticed that he looked different.
Oh yeah,
you saw, and this might be a different woodchuck.
It might have been because I thought when I first saw the woodchuck, I remember him being really big and fat, but this one was a little more svelte. Like he just he looked like maybe he had a rigorous exercise routine or something. But anyway, I was afraid that he like I had to take him for a drive because I wasn't sure what to do with him. And I was thinking about like where I could dump him, like drive to take him. And I didn't want him to pee in my car. So I got some garbage bags and I lined the seats of my car so he wouldn't piss all over the place. And then I went back and I picked up and then I sentenced him. Like I tried him for his crimes and I was like, the penalty for digging up my garage floor is exile. And so I picked him up and he started freaking out a little bit. He was like scratching away.
Exiled him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was not even a jury of his peers.
Okay, it was
put me back in.
It was kind of an unfair trial, I admit. But I rule my property like a tyrant king. But so yeah, he was scratching away at the cage, and then I put him in there. And at first I thought he was pretty calm and mellow, but then I got a closer look and he had this like his lip was all curled up, like he's all like pissed off at me. And I didn't think that woodchucks could be that expressive, but he looked like he was a little bit peeved off that I had like trapped him in a cage. Yes, Pat. Question.
You are a little worried that this animal that you captured in a cage that was running amok in your garage forever to the point where it dug a Shawshank Redemption hole, that now you're like, oh, I might be a little mad because I Kunta Kinte'd him in a cage and I'm gonna drive in a car, a thing he's never been in. Yeah, he might be a bit peeved.
Dan
Crawl
opened
through.
his safe. There's just 2 tiny wooden shoes.
That woodchuck crawled through a mile of shit to get to that cage.
Andy Dufresne.
So I started I got him in my car and I was driving around just like looking for a place to dump him. But I live in kind of an urban area, so I had to drive to the outskirts up near Thomaston. And then
Crossing state lines.
yeah, because and
it's state lines, but he did drive a good 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Put him in someone else's yard.
Yeah. And I also, while I was doing my woodchuck research, there was this guy in Nebraska who was saying it's illegal to transport a woodchuck farther than 100 yards, I think, from where you caught him. And so I was like nervous because I didn't know if there was any special Connecticut laws.
The woodchuck police are gonna.
I was looking out for cops. Like I was probably looked very suspicious. Like
you get pulled over. They go, "What's in that box?" Nothing.
He probably would have had a probable cause to have a search of my car.
Yeah, open the box, sir.
Is that illegal to have a woodchuck in your backseat?
I don't think it's illegal, but I don't know. Like that guy, like I was saying, in Nebraska, it's illegal to.
I'm sure they could do something. Like the game commission got you.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened.
A cop would probably just be like, "Dude, get that the fuck away from me."
But I wonder what happened in Nebraska, where it's now illegal.
I don't know.
You keep saying Nebraska is the one place where it is. If no one else had it illegal, and then Nebraska's like, we can't.
Someone probably moved one and it fucked up the environment.
Or one guy
turned into Australia.
It's like it's all fucked.
One guy found a bunch and just kept bringing them to his like ex-wife's house, driving them over there.
So many holes,
just like her. So many stupid hairy bitch, just like her. It's like Cornhusker, just like her. All right. So Dan, so you're driving, you're going to the woods.
And I just found like this company that had a big parking lot with a little swampy river next to it. And I parked in there and I was like sneaking around like a serial killer, hoping that they didn't have a problem with me releasing a woodchuck on their property.
No, is this private property?
I would assume so. It was the parking lot to this company.
But why did you get to that place and decide that's the place?
Because I was driving
in mind, or were you just driving to another town and then looking for woods?
I was looking for, I mean, the whole place up there was woods, but on the road I was driving at, there was like
there's no state park. You couldn't look for like a Thomaston State Park, or
I could have, but I think I just got in the car and I didn't do that much research about the best place. So I drove up this road and there was like a big rock wall on the one side of the road, so I couldn't let him, because I would be afraid that he'd feel cornered and then he'd come at me, or he would
throw him off a cliff.
Yeah. Well, there was kind of like there wasn't a good place to park on the other side, but I was afraid. I didn't want to let him go and then have him just run into the road where you get run over. So
you stole him from his home, and now you're worried about what he does later.
I don't want him to die. I want him to be exiled. I want him to be punished where he feels sorry for what he did, but I don't want him.
Why couldn't you just be passive aggressive to him every day and let him live there?
I could.
Someone doesn't pay rent. Well, you do that, and he makes him feel bad.
Yeah, probably that would probably be a better option. But anyway, I found this company. It was like the first right-hand turn where I could park discreetly and just dump a woodchuck in the forest. And so I got him, and I got him out of the car, and I was just like filming. I was examining him again because the light was more bright than in my garage, and I just wanted. I don't see many woodchucks, so I wanted to get like a good memory of what he looked like and like his features, and maybe like make eye contact with him and maybe let him know that I was not such a bad guy for kidnapping him and transporting him.
Really, I mean, I know
he got killed by a hawk 10 minutes later.
But did you really think I don't want him to think I'm a bad guy? Because that makes me feel bad for your heart and who you are. Because you're even worried a woodchuck's like, you guy's a real loser.
I mean,
what an asshole.
He probably thought that I was an asshole, but I don't.
I thought, what a bitch.
Going through the woods with sad Hulk music.
There is one part you did leave out. At the
What?
very beginning of the video, before we see a woodchuck or anything, or you even describing the garage, you walk out with, if you're playing Call of Duty, with first player point of view camera. You walk out, you look down at your belt area and pull out a Rambo fucking knife, which made me think a whole different story was going to happen. The knife never came into play, but he probably did think you're a bad guy because you're walking around with a murder knife and he's probably got family and friends that have been murdered. And he's like, I just want to go to heaven with them. Fuck it. My life's terrible. I'm living in this shit guy's garage. All he's got is Stop and Shop water, not even Poland Spring. Fuck him. And then his catalogs are old. I've read this a million times. And then you just brought him where he's just going to come back to your house.
But maybe the knife will keep him from returning to my house.
He knows you're a bitch now and you're not going to use the knife. You're all show, no go.
Yeah,
right.
You gotta be stern on these things.
Maybe I should have given him I should have given him a stern talking to before I let him go.
Talking to.
What, you don't like my stern talking tos?
Well, everything you said, I've been saying Howard Stern afterwards. Just maybe
I had a squirrel in my house. Not a woodchuck. It's like a smaller woodchuck.
What did you do with it?
I caught it in a glue trap and then shot it.
In the house?
Yeah.
You shot a gun in the house. A real gun or like a BB gun?
Air rifle. It's like a 22.
Oh my god, Dan, you should have done that.
Dude, the thing chewed through my door frame, right? Like my cellar, I just have a big hole in my fucking wall now that I have to figure out how to fix. Frame's fucked. I thought this is when Manny was still living with me. I thought Manny, like I went to do laundry and the laundry room's just a mess. And I was like, this motherfucker like just ruined my laundry room. Everything was knocked over. I was like, he must be mad at me. And then I went in the basement where we do the podcast and everything's like my bars, like I was broken glass everywhere. And I thought someone broke in. I was like, what the fuck? And then this squirrel jumped down from the ceiling onto the bar, looked at me, and then jumped back up into the ceiling. I'm like, yeah, fuck, I got a squirrel in my basement. I didn't know what to do. I was playing squirrel sounds on YouTube, trying to learn out.
You both did research.
Yeah, you do a little research. You try to be and
battle without knowing your opponent.
Yeah, it wouldn't leave. Like the door open, it's just not leaving. I'm like, okay, cool, glue trap. It's just like a big mouse. I put one here, put one here. Do the podcast. Wait like 20 minutes. Come back downstairs. It's on the ground, stuck to the glue trap like that. Yeah. And glue traps, they are inhumane as fuck.
Yeah,
it's brutal.
We had a mouse problem at one point, and I used glue traps, and I'm afraid of every animal.
Yeah.
So when I went in and it was just going. I'm like, I just took a broom. I opened the back door and I was just like curling. I was just like moving I flung that thing out there with the broom, stuck to the glue trap into my backyard, knowing it got picked off by animals, obviously while laying in the glue trap. In the worst way possible. I didn't do any research. I just cried.
I remember one time I was at Pat's house and there was this possum that was on the stairs, and he was the friendliest possum. Like he was just
not.
Yeah, he was.
Were friends with him.
You like yelled and ran into the house.
It's terrifying. You ever see those things?
But he was just hanging out, just chilling on the steps leading up to that lady's
pull-ups on the top steps to make it ready to fight us.
Dude, I turned into a Bond villain when I came down and saw it stuck. It's like, oh, stick around, Mr. Squirrel.
Dude, like 2 months ago, I was walking in the back door to my house, and there's garbage cans there, and it was like dark at night, but there's like a security light that goes on when you walk by it. And I walked by one of the garbage cans that was open, and I looked in, and looking up at me was a possum. And he just goes, and I went, ah! And I fucking just ran for 2 weeks, I wouldn't take the garbage out because I thought it was still in there. Like I wouldn't even go to the garbage. Like, fuck you, the garbage is staying in that can. I'm not moving because that thing lives in there now. And now, even to this day, I go check garbage. I kick the can. I yell first. I'm worried that creatures in there.
Hell yeah! For like I think like a month, I was on a mission where I was just shooting everything in my yard. I had to wake up like, what was that, Schindler's List? Just fucking right off the balcony.
Dan, have we had any signs of any other woodchucks since?
No, but I've had like thick, creepy, crawling noises coming in my eaves, and I put that same trap up there, and I there was like scratching in the insulation on the opposite side of the cage. Like it seemed like an animal was in there, but he was too fat to go around and go in the trap. And he was scratching up the insulation trying to get in. And I picked up the cage and I turned it around, hoping that'll come in this way. So maybe I might catch something in there. But like, what did you like? If it's a squirrel or like a rat or something, I might have to shoot him. Like, do you think I could shoot? Like, what did you shot? What did you shoot your squirrel with? Like, maybe would a BB gun work?
No, BB guns bounce off them. found
What? They
that
got
out.
armor?
Found that out. I shot one outside with my air rifle. I fucking hit him in the spine.
Oh my
And he was
gosh!
fucking dragging himself, and I was like, ah, fuck. And I had my BB gun next. I didn't feel like shooting this out because it's illegal. Don't do that.
Oh,
So I bring my BB gun. I can walk.
did he find one?
Is it here?
No, I didn't. I didn't find a. Are you asking me if I found an animal?
We thought
we thought you
it
found it.
just happened right now.
No, I have. This
He's
is
like, I got this. It's just
He will do that. He's done that on many shows.
it's a burn HP. Like it's a non-lethal handgun. It doesn't shoot bullets like it shoots like these little. It's almost like a paintball, but it's not like paintball sized.
I put my BB gun to the back of a squirrel's head and shot, and it kept crawling.
Oh my gosh!
That looks big.
That one's big. That might do something. But good chance it just bounces off.
Some of these have
It
pepper
goes that
spray
close
and
to you right now.
chemical irritant, like tear gas.
If you catch them, just drown it, and stomp on it, or something like that.
Huh.
It sounds bad, but
Yeah, torture him, I guess, but don't because PETA, whatever. But anyway, I don't care about it.
yeah, don't do any of this. But like, yeah.
But
But if you're gonna like dissect it,
but my favorite part was the next day. Dan on Facebook writes,
nail
so
it
I'm
to your
hearing these
door
noises.
like this.
I broke a hole in like the guest room, and I think there's animals in there too. So now there's animals in the house.
Well, this is remember why I was saying that in my eaves,
Yeah.
that's where I broke the hole into. And yeah, I basically like found a panel in the closet that I could, I took like a razor cutter and I cut like a line and then I just peeled off the sheetrock. And then so it's I want access to those eaves anyway, because like I've heard mice or little scampering, skittering noises in the eave, so I want to like be able to put traps in there if I need to.
So I don't, like I said to you before, Dan, but I'll say it here. I don't believe there's animals in your house. I believe you're in an animal's house. And I think they're trying to get rid of you.
You're locked in here with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So who's the piece of shit in this story? Is it Dan for everything he did? Is it the woodchuck? Is it Nebraska and their shitty laws? Is it whoever the other animal that's drinking Stop and Shop water? Is it Mike for murdering an animal and also trying to execute it by the back of its head and learning that in his mind squirrels have superpowers?
I said, I have to use a more powerful gun.
You probably just met one of the most powerful squirrels of all time. I don't think all squirrels can take a shot. I hope people out there.
I promise you, regular BB gun, shoot a squirrel. It's not gonna do anything. It'll just run away.
Who's the piece of shit in the story? Mike, go first.
Dan is the piece of shit in the story for having a house on that woodchuck's land.
It is like when the realtor should have told you that. Like when you move, we have to let you know that 8 people were murdered. It's like woodchucks infest the fuck out of this. They live in the garage and they party. They have a sink.
It's what I mean. It's one of those things where you're like, that's just an animal doing animal shit. It doesn't know.
You mean Dan or the woodchuck?
The woodchuck. It doesn't know anything. Dan did it. Dan did it right. He captured it. He released it.
He made a sweet video that you all need to go check out.
Yeah, you made a video out of it. You did your research. You try to do the best thing possible for it. Me, I fucking shot a gun in my house.
Yes. And you still haven't fixed the hole.
Yeah, I don't know what gets blood on the carpet, but it's there.
Now do your research. Dan, piece of shit.
I am not the piece of shit. The woodchuck is the piece of shit. I have manifest destiny and I deserve this land. I didn't give that woodchuck smallpox blankets or I didn't poison it or do any of these underhanded tricks. I did it the humane way when God ordained me to have this land.
God ordained you?
I don't know what ordained means, but I feel like
he came down.
Yeah.
You can have this garage.
Adam and Eve's. There you go. But the piece of shit in this story is me because I wanted to share this video, and Bobby was trying to do a million things. He didn't leave work. He tried to do it from there, and all the complications, all that stuff made Bobby run away and be sad because he couldn't watch the NBA and couldn't be on a show with his friends. And now he feels like he let us all down, and he didn't. But we had a great show. So I'm the piece of shit. I'm sorry, Bobby. The woodchuck is also a piece of shit because it bothered Dan. Dan's a piece of shit because he should just light his house on fire and start again. So
No, I'm the piece of shit because I finally stole Bobby's job.
yeah, and now Mike is Frank. So Bobby's gonna make
It's the Pat Oates show.
Yep. It's the POS Pat Ocho POS. He would say, "Oh,
Starring Pat Oates."
I think on that note, we did it. We've been on for 1,000 years, even though we only did the show for a little bit. Mike, where can people follow you? All that stuff.
At Michael D Comedy on Instagram and at a boy in his fridge on Instagram. I don't know if the podcast is even happening anymore. Manny had a kid. It's all fucked.
Congrats to Manny, by the way.
Congrats to Manny having a kid.
Yeah, I saw the baby on the online there.
But yeah, give me a follow on Instagram. I'm
Dan?
there.
You can follow me at Ghosty Films on all social medias except for Instagram, where I am at Dan Brown Comedy.
Sometimes you got to be you. So that's good stuff. Like I said, go over to Compound Media, subscribe to that, check out the show we put out there. You can subscribe for a month and fucking get away or ask for someone's password. I don't know. It's not like Netflix. They don't care. So just go check it out some way you can. They are going to give us the audio. So I will have the audio that will be up on all places. I think it was a pretty offensive show. I might think about before I put the audio out because I do like some of my day job stuff. So I don't know if it's going to go out there, but we'll wait and see. But either way, go check that out. We'll be doing shows again there. Get over to our Patreon. We'll definitely put the audio up on the Patreon if you haven't seen it there. So make sure you go over there to POS Podcast Patreon. We thank you guys so much for watching. Bobby, we're sorry. We missed you. Mike and Dan, thank you so much. And Dan, do you know how to be Bobby at the end here?
Don't do some stuff and don't be a piece of shit.
Don't do some stuff.